Hello and welcome to the 21st edition of the Two Black to Nerds, Chris.
And I'm your host, Chris.
And today we're going to talk about a variety of topics. Probably a little, well, not super different than what we normally do, but I think we just wanted to start off with things we've been up to and watching and playing and all that kind of stuff. So I saw Us yesterday, and I know you got to see it earlier, right, Chris?
Yeah, I got to see it the Tuesday before it came out.
I liked it. It's a good movie. I thought that I'm trying to put my thoughts together. It was similar to Get Out in the sense of there was a lot of foreshadowing. There was a pretty decent twist at the very end, and there was a lot of hidden meaning. There was a lot of hidden meaning to a lot of the stuff that went on in the movie. I don't really know if we want to go into spoilers, but in that sense, but movie wasn't about racism. I think there was some class commentary there, some religious allusions for sure, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. What about you?
I really enjoyed it too. Did you look up the scripture?
Yeah, I did.
After you left the theater? Yeah. So I think there's a lot of hidden symbolism there. A lot of it, some class symbolism or, class versus class symbolism. A lot of it is just like, looking into the mirror and seeing a dark version of yourself, and that's sort of the enemy. I thought it was really good. It's a movie that sort of requires multiple viewings for you to get all of it and to see different things different times. I think we can go into spoilers a little bit. We won't have to go into the twist a little bit.
Yeah, by the time this comes out, it's already been out for a week, almost 2 weeks, like a week and a half, and by the time this gets out, it'll probably be next weekend. So that should give people enough time.
Yeah.
I think.
We'll go into some light spoilers. So we'll just do that. So one of the things that I think was pretty good about the movie was all the side characters, not just how Lupita Nyong'o was absolutely fantastic, but Elizabeth Moss was pretty good as her tethered version. And then the person who played her husband was pretty funny as both his tethered version and his above world counterpart. The twins were creepy. All the kids were creepy.
Very creepy.
Like all the kids' tethered versions were just absolutely creepy. And, always in a thriller or horror movie, having twins is already a sign of creepiness. So, that didn't really help matters. It's a movie that requires a lot of, you want to go read the think pieces after you've watched the movie because there are a lot of theories out there and it's sort of fun to think about. What did you think about the twist at the end? Did you see it coming?
The twist at the end, I suspected something like that. I wouldn't say I was 100% like, oh, I know this is what's going to happen, but I definitely suspected that something was going to happen going through the movie. And after the twist happens, everything makes a lot more sense, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that I think the twist at the end helps make the movie, just give it a reason for okay, well, why did all this stuff happen? Why did all this stuff happen now? What makes, Lupita's family more special than everyone's? Pretty much the tethered people just massacred their counterparts. The only people who survived in the movie was Lupita's family.
Right. And so it's sort of interesting that happens because it sort of seems like the tethered had a rule. You kill your counterpart and that's it. People are debating whether Umbre... so there's a part in the movie where right after the tethered versions of Lupita's family confront them, they all sort of separate and each tethered gets to fight their above world counterpart. Mm-hmm. And Umbre, who is the girl's version, I cannot remember the girl's name for the life of me, but I remember her tethered name. Umbre is chasing after her above world counterpart, And then a guy comes out because Umbre is standing on his car, and he comes out and he's like, "Come here, come here." And so she goes over to him, and so she cuts the back of his leg, which causes him to scream, and then it sort of cuts away as the girl starts running away again. And so it's sort of interesting how later in the movie, when they go to Elizabeth Moss family's house and their tethers have already killed their above world counterparts, that they sort of toy with them, but they don't kill them right away when they could have, which makes me think that they had a rule that you only kill your version.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure whether Umbre killed that guy or just, like pretty much just cut the muscles in his leg so he can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Because everybody else you saw was just dead.
Yeah, they were destroyed. They must have had some sort of rule, and that was the thing about Us is that it's definitely one of those movies where like the more you think about certain things, the more like you can start to pick it apart a little bit, and I think that's what stops it from being like a super scary movie to me, because like the scariest movies to me are always the ones like, oh man, this could really happen. But I don't think Jordan Peele really cared about filling out certain details about like where the tether came from and like how exactly they acted and why they did things. A lot of this movie was, I think, trying to be a metaphor and, trying to drive some, ideas home. Because there were certain things, I texted you about this earlier.
Right.
I understand they're in California. I don't know what their gun laws are like. But, like, why didn't no one have a gun at a certain point?
Yeah, and so, the only gun we saw in the movie was a flare gun, and that worked out spectacularly awful for the person involved. But I think it was interesting. Like, my other questions I had, I don't know if I texted you this or not, because I've talked to so many people about it, but I was just like, all right, what happened to the people that were on planes when the tethers came out of the sewers, or were on trains, helicopters, boats, not readily accessible? Were they waiting for them at the docks or the stations where they would have ended up? How would they have gotten there? Things like that. Because we saw in the tethered version, when we saw people on roller coasters, they were in one room all bunched together, like acting out the roller coaster. But, they weren't actually moving anywhere. So how does that work for people in cars? Do they just sort of stay there in that area? We saw people walking around, like people above them were walking around. So there's a lot of questions there. And we saw at the end people in helicopters looking at the tethers. And I'm assuming those were not tethers, because once they fulfilled their objective, they got in line.
Yeah, it was almost like they were programmed to do one thing and then they were done.
Right.
Unless they ran into another living person.
Right, which, we don't know. I think Lupita's family is a bit more, well, who knows. It's an interesting dynamic. And also when Red is explaining the origin of the tethers, we got to remember that she's speculating. She doesn't actually know.
That's true.
Because I'm like, how does she know this? Because nobody down there but her can talk. And there were no words that we saw or books or anything. So she just had to speculate.
Yeah, she must have. I mean, maybe there was some readings and she could piece certain things together. But so like there are certain things like that where I was like, But I mean, as far as the movie goes, I liked the storyline because I didn't know where it was going to go. The family was very likable, which, you want the family to survive. Because I thought that Winston Duke, I mean, he had a couple times where I was like, ooh, I don't know. Are they going to kill the dad?
He sort of deserved it. Actually, him and the girl sort of deserved to die, because the girl was jogging when her mom told her to run. She was not running at all. I was just like, oh, yeah, she catches you, you deserve to die. And then for Winston Duke, Gabe was his name. Like, how are you just, you were doing way too much. And plus you let them take your bat and then they beat you over the head, beat your knee with it. Like, you deserve that.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have been taunting. You should have been listening. That's why when Adelaide was just like, you don't get to make the decisions anymore. Like, yeah, you earned that.
Exactly. Yeah, no, but I mean, he did. He messed up, but I did like the levity that he added to the movie because I think it was needed for sure.
Oh yeah, he was a suburban dad. I know when he went out. I can't remember what part of the movie it was. It was before the tethers got there. He hit the suburban dad pose with like the hands on the hip. I'm just like, oh, yep, you've been suburbanized. There goes all your instincts to run. You've been suburbanized.
I'm trying to. I had a point I was going to make. I was going to say that I did think the family was likable enough, so when the twist happens at the end, you feel kind of weird about it. You're conflicted.
Mm-hmm.
Because the people you've wanted to win the entire movie, especially with Lupita, you're like, oh, I don't know how I feel about you now, which was the point.
Right. But at the same time, like, you can find justifiable motives on both sides, which is what makes things difficult.
For sure.
I mean, one side involved mass murder / genocide, so it's sort of hard to, root for that side still. But the leader of it had justifiable motives. Not
definitely
saying they should have killed everyone.
And also, the guy who played Lupita's father was Black Manta and Starfire.
Yeah.
For her parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say, I think that the guy who played her, I think her father in this, he gets to be on the list of ancient fathers in movies and TV, up there with Goku.
Oh, yeah.
Up there with the dad Fullmetal Alchemist who made his kid a chimera, because if he had just watched his daughter for 15 minutes, then this whole movie would not have happened.
It wouldn't even been 15 minutes. It literally probably would have been 5.
Yeah, if he had just got off the game and done his job. So
But here's another thing that I thought. Someone brought this up to me, and I was just like, that's a good point. How did the Lupita Southard go up the escalator when it was a down escalator?
I'm not sure.
Because all she did was just ride it up. She didn't walk it, because you have to run those things going at the speed, because it was going at a normal speed. She just went up it.
I'm not sure. And then how did the other how did the real Lupita not leave? If the tether version was able to leave. There's a
spoiler.
There it is. Sorry. Well, how long are we in? 13. Hopefully, if they didn't want to get spoiled, they would just skip this part. Sorry.
I mean, you can just
I'll put a spoiler alert at the next minute marker.
Yeah, but all in all, good movie. Definitely recommend to go see it.
For sure.
I would like a novelized version.
Yeah, Jordan Peele's on a road, man. I mean, on a roll on the road. The family was on the road. Yeah, on the road. Jordan Peele is on a roll in the box office. He's got another hit. So, let's hope he doesn't Shyamalan it with goofy twists in every movie.
Yeah, but his next movie is Candyman, and I will be skipping that one.
Yeah. All right, you want to move on to you can talk about Capital Supremacy for a minute.
Yeah, you know what text message I just got from a friend?
From what? About what?
Explain your beef with Captain Marvel.
Oh, we're not even. That's like one of the last few things. I don't even want to. Dude, like, hey, all right, yeah, Capital Supremacy, go for it.
All right, let's get to Capital Supremacy. Okay, so this past week, I believe on Tuesday, EA finally did something good and added a game mode to Battlefront 2 called Capital Supremacy. So there's only one map of it now on Geonosis. So how it works is, because they already messed something up, they already turned off the AI. So it was originally supposed to work with, you have 8 players, 12 AI on each side. One's the droids, one are the Republic. And you have to you start off on the planet, and you have to capture 5 command posts. So once you have 3 out of 5, or 4 out of 5, or 5 out of 5, as long as you have the majority of the command posts, you start gaining reinforcements, and you have to get up to 50. Whoever gets to 50 first, that side gets to evacuate the planet, which involves you having to go up to your ships that land, press X for like 3 seconds, and then you go up to the opposing team's ship, capital ship in space, and you board the ship, and then you have to unlock the doors, which requires having someone go up there and hold X while you're defending them and hopefully not die. And then after that, you have to sabotage 2 things on the ship, which take a long time. So I have only played 2 games, but given how each sort of area on the ship is a bottleneck, I cannot see how someone or one team, unless the other team is just really bad, can just go through and win the ship in one go. So basically what happens, you only have a limited amount of people up there. So once you run out, your reinforcements hit 0. You get back to the planet, and then the other team automatically starts off with 3 out of the 5 command posts, and you have to fight your way through it. It's a fun game mode. It is a long game mode, so I can understand how people can get tired of it easily, like if you play it a few times in a row.
Classic.
But I think it's a step in the right direction. It should have been on the original game to begin with, but here we are. I mean, it didn't cost anything. That's one of the things that EA's done. There's no DLC, so you're getting all of this for free. But the thing is, for like characters, you have to, well, they're giving you the characters for this game mode, but for other game modes, you have to buy them using the in-game currency, and you cannot buy the in-game currency using real money anymore, because they cut that out, which was like a good thing, but also at the same time you made getting credits such a long and difficult process. Yeah, but you're supposed to feel good about yourself for actually getting there. Yeah, screw you, EA.
So if I've never played Battlefront, is it a good time to jump in, do you think? Now that they've added more free stuff?
I mean, yeah, I feel like if you're a Star Wars fan, then yeah, you should. I still want Galactic Conquest back. But on that note, I read that, you know how Xbox has like this games with gold thing. I don't know if you heard of that. It's where you can with an Xbox Gold subscription, you get like a couple free games from like the Xbox 360 or the Xbox that have backwards compatibility with the Xbox One, and you get to play that game, or have a chance to download that game. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to do it tomorrow, because from April 1st to the 14th, the original Battlefront 2 is supposed to be available on backwards compatibility. So I plan to download that. And screw this Battlefront 2. I'm playing that Battlefront 2. Good childhood memories there. 2005. Good times. That's it for Capital Supremacy.
For sure. All right. Well, you've heard Chris's opinion on Capital Supremacy. I don't have one because I don't have Battlefront. So you'll have to trust his opinion on that. I guess I can talk about Umbrella Academy, which you have not seen.
No, I have not.
Umbrella Academy is a new Netflix series. Since Marvel Netflix is dead, I guess Netflix wants to go find new properties based off comics. Umbrella Academy. I'm not sure if it was a graphic novel, but it was definitely a comic. It pretty much is about this family of adults that this family where they're all adopted and they're all adults who used to kind of be superheroes when they're kids, but now they're not superheroes anymore and they're all estranged, and it just chronicles their lives and the things they go through. There's a big time travel element for sure, and I enjoyed it just because while it is a comic property, it definitely didn't feel like your standard superhero show with dragged out origin stories and people going out and fighting. It definitely wasn't. There was action in it, but I definitely would not classify it as an action show. So I think that if you're looking for more comic book based stuff that isn't kind of your standard action show, I think Umbrella Academy might be something you want to check out. Kind of has all the characters are kind of misfits, where even the ones with cool powers tend to have huge personality flaws and things of that nature. So I would definitely say I would definitely say it might be interesting to check out. Missy Elliott is an assassin in this. I
Oh,
was not expecting that at all.
I mean, sometimes you have to do what you got to do, I guess.
Yeah. And one of the main characters is played by Ellen Page from X-Men. Remember when she was wasn't she Kitty Pryde back in the day?
Yeah, she was Kitty Pryde, then she was in The Last of Us. That was about all I know besides her activism.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of the other actors in this are people I haven't seen before. So I'm curious. I mean, to me, I feel like they're picking people maybe that are lesser known, unless I'm just I'm uncultured. But it was definitely a cool story. Like I said, there's time travel in it. There's a lot of heart, a lot of like messages about family. There's a lot of mystery in it too, because it's definitely one of those shows where you don't know where it's gonna go. One of the main characters can talk to dead people, so that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Little Sixth Sense up in here.
Yeah, and he can channel their spirits, which is it's a pretty neat power. I mean, as far as like powers that you don't necessarily like see all the time. And one girl, she has a power she's pretty much like a good guy version of Kilgrave, where she can give people commands, and they can do whatever she wants. But when she gets in the fight, someone she fights has a pretty good way of neutralizing that ability. I'm not going to give it away, but definitely something that should have happened to Kilgrave and Jessica Jones, in my opinion, that they didn't do. But I'll leave it at that. When you see it, you'll know what I mean.
Okay.
And is there anything else I wanted to talk about? Let me think. And that's mostly it. Like, I don't want to go into too much detail because you haven't seen it, and it's kind of one of those shows where figuring out some of the mysteries, some of the twists is like half the fun. But I had a good time with it. Do you want to move on to Rip Arrow?
Yes. All things must come to an end. I was going to say all good things, but I haven't really thought Arrow was good in a while.
Yeah, so we got some bombshell Arrow news.
Yes.
So
some
the
good
first,
and some bad.
So the first news we got was that Arrow's ending. Season 8 is going to be the last season, and Season 8 is only going to be 10 episodes. So I think right now they're in episode 17 of Season 7. So you really only got like 6-7 episodes the rest of the season, and then no, not even that. No, not even that many. You got like 14-15 episodes left of the series pretty much. So it's coming to a close. And the other news is that Emily Ricard is leaving after season 7, which
Woo!
is so
no more Felicity.
No more Felicity at the end of the season. But you only got 10 more episodes before the series is over. So someone already put a meme of Thanos on the Arrow Reddit, where it was like where he's talking to Gamora, baby Gamora at the end, and she's like, "Did you do it?" And he goes, "Yes." And it says like Felicity leaving, and then she goes, "But what did it cost?" And Thanos goes, "Everything." And it says Arrow ending after season 8. I'm like, wow.
Hey, that'll be 10 episodes of Arrow greatness. Make Arrow great again.
So I'm very curious about what this last season is even going to be, because Curtis is gone, Felicity's leaving, and there are rumors that Katie Cassidy's leaving, and this next episode that we're on right now, they may be writing off Black Siren. So what is this last season even going to like? What's it going to be? Because it just seems like it's going to be so different than what we're used to. Like, is he doing like a back to basics type thing? We already thought that he was going to die in Crisis anyway. So I'm just curious I'm like, what is Arrow season 8? I guess my biggest question now is, what is Arrow season 8 going to be? If it's 10 episodes, it looks like they're changing up sort of like the standard Monster of the Week Arrow formula that we've had for the past, since the series has started mostly.
Yeah.
So do you have you been keeping up with the show, period? And then do you have any ideas of what they might do?
I've been keeping up with the show. I'm still hoping that it's just going to be all tie-ins to Crisis on Infinite Earths, and that all the shows are just going to be connected. It's just going to be a season of crossovers, and Arrow is just not going to be there for that long of a time. And so while Arrow might end by by the time the crossover would normally happen in like December or maybe the next week, that he still might show up in like, you know, The Flash or Legend or Batwoman, if that's starting next year, or Supergirl, as, you know, just as a guest star. He might still be alive at that point.
They're obviously not going to get killed off. We got those future flashbacks. Are they going to cameo in the other shows? Are they kind of done? You know, because I mean, Legends is always a home for wayward characters, and I'm assuming like John Constantine is probably only going to be in this season, which also Legends comes back tomorrow as of this recording, and I'm pretty excited. I do like your idea of it just being all crossover. I doubt there's that, but I mean, that would be cool. I definitely think they're setting up a bigger tie-in with Crisis, though, because I think Flash is going to have something to do with it, with all the stuff that's going on there, with Nora and changing the timeline, and the two cicadas. We know that Arrow's ending. No, John Cryer is a pretty... It's only been in 3 episodes, but he's been a pretty good Lex Luthor.
I've seen
like
some of John Cryer as Lex Luthor. I'm like, I don't hate it. He's doing a good job. Yeah. And I saw that they actually put the suit in there.
Yeah, he had the Lexo suit, and he's manipulating.
And it didn't look terrible.
And he's manipulating Russian Kara to take over. I'm gonna fight good Kara at some point. And Eve Tessmacher is evil. Like 100%. Yeah. Like, since she was introduced in the beginning, and she shot James. I was like, wow, okay. I did not see that coming.
How many times has James been shot?
I don't know why he's on the show. I have no idea. I'm assuming he's not going anywhere because they just introduced his sister. But, like,
because he got killed in the Crisis on Earth X. He got shot last season, I think. He got shot the first time he went out as Guardian. Like, come on now. Or did he get stabbed?
I don't know. I like Lex. Just give me more Lex. You can, that's all I'm going to say when it comes to Supergirl. But getting back to Arrow, I would just say that I'm conflicted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
Because, like, I'm happy Felicity's gone, you know, finally, but it's like, well, what did it cost? Now, did you see the episode there was all flash forward with all the kids?
Yes.
What did you think?
It was okay. Like, it wasn't, I think it was a good episode. It just wasn't, like, all that mind-blowing for me. I liked Amiko and Oliver's interaction in the last
I'm
episode.
assuming so are we assuming that Miko is a season villain? Is that I'm assuming that's what it is. She's the leader of the Ninth Circle, and Dante's working for her as opposed to the other way around.
Right.
Because I was thinking, like, because this season really didn't have, like, a consistent, you know, villain. I mean, they were fighting Ricardo Diaz for the first half, but, like, who cares? He's dead now.
So who killed him?
Miko did.
Oh, good job.
She killed him in prison.
No, so you know what's funny now?
What?
All the Felicity fans that were glad that Diaz is gone, this cost them everything.
Yeah.
Because now Felicity's gone.
Yeah, it did. No, rip Felicity, I guess.
Yeah. And I was telling you this earlier this week because I've been rewatching Smallville, and something that I knew but I sort of forgot about because I've read the Smallville season 11 comics and I go back and reread those every so often. But Oliver and Chloe ended up together, and I don't remember people hating that as much as people were just like, why is Lois Lane hooking up with half the Justice League, and why is Lana Lang hooking up with half the male main cast? But Oliver and Chloe ended up together, and I didn't hate that. Chloe was a good character.
Yeah, I mean,
Felicity, on the other hand,
I think with the Felicity stuff is, everybody liked Felicity in the beginning, but like as she got more attention, like Laurel got less, and then like Laurel's like transformation into the Black Canary was kind of half-assed, and then they killed her in season 4, which was easily the biggest mistake of the show. Like easily the worst mistake I've seen in a television show, like period.
yeah,
Like, yeah, and I just think the writing around Oliver and Felicity. I mean, I didn't see Smallville, so I can't speak to like Chloe and stuff. Which wonder how Allison Mack is doing, but we'll leave that alone. But I think with Felicity, it was just that like they just I feel like the writers are really confident and happy that they created an original character that like blew up, because you go on Tumblr, especially back in the day. I mean, Felicity was everywhere, even with people who didn't even watch Arrow.
mm-hmm.
But I feel like she definitely just kind of like overstayed her welcome. And it got to a point with Arrow where it's like, especially when you get to like Arrow season 4 with like Damien Dark, it's just like, what is the show even about anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sort of lost its sort of identity in it because Arrow was always sort of grounded in realism. And then once the Flash came, you had that world, but then you had it sort of still grounded with a little bit of, magical realism in the Pit and with Ra's al Ghul. Then you just went whole magic in there. Because there has to be some reason why Hive survives against the League of Assassins and Damien Dark is still kicking, even though he doesn't have the Pit. And we see why. But at the same time, Oliver should have realistically not stood a chance against magic. He should have died like 8 times before the mid-season finale.
For sure.
And he was about to, if one time, literally, Barry did not save him. Also, Barry could have knocked out Damien Dark, and that whole thing could have been over. But no, Barry, you just ran them off 15 feet away, and you just have a habit of running away or not letting villains get knocked out.
We're not even going to get into... I mean, we already complained about... I think last episode, Flash and Cicada. We'll leave that alone. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to do like a YouTube like thing, like honoring Arrow or something during the summer. I'm conflicted, and like with Felicity, I mean, I got to a point where I'm just like over it and just accept it. Like, okay, this is just what the show is now. Either I'm gonna keep watching and not complain, or I'm gonna stop watching it. So. Yeah, I mean, Arrow did lose its identity, and the one show I think out of all the shows that's been able to keep its identity well is Legends. Once Legends figured out what it wanted to be, it's been pretty consistent,
Yeah,
and Legends is an acquired taste. It's not a show that everyone is going to like because it is corny and goofy, and that's just not going to be everybody's speed, but Legends knows what it is.
Right. Speaking of Legends, if we're talking about it for a brief moment, when is Hawkgirl coming back? Because she is coming back this season.
I heard that a former Legend was going to attack them and like be evil. So maybe it's her, I guess.
I was pretty sure it was her. I thought that got confirmed.
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, Legends has been off for so long. I hope Mona dies. Probably not, but I don't know why we needed a female counterpart to Gary, but now we have one.
Because more Gary is better.
I thought Gary was Gary himself was enough, and now we have female Gary, which yeah, we'll see what happens. Did you want to get into I think the main event of this podcast probably is Captain Marvel, right?
Oh boy.
All right, so Captain Marvel came out like a month-ish ago, 3 weeks or so,
Yep.
A month ago. I saw it like the Thursday premiere.
So did I.
So my review of the movie is that definitely lower to mid-tier Marvel, 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 at best. I didn't absolutely hate it. but it definitely felt to me like kind of your paint by the numbers Marvel origin story. And there's been so much drama around this movie that's not even relating to like the movie itself. You got this in quotes the SJWs versus the incels. So there's been a lot going on. Chris, I want to hear your thoughts about the movie. Then we can kind of get into the movie period, and then maybe just some of the drama around it. Because I went and did some research. So Chris, what's your opinion about Captain Marvel?
Oh, Captain Marvel. Oof. Oh boy. It was a movie. Let me say the things I liked about it first. So I liked Goose.
Yeah.
Goose the cat was wonderful,
yes, he was.
or Goose the Flurkin, I guess.
The cat was awesome.
I was funny. Yes. Nick Fury and Captain Marvel's interactions were pretty great, I thought.
Yeah, this is definitely the movie I think where Nick Fury's had the most to do. He didn't have to just be like mission command type person.
Right.
You know, though we got some from him in Winter Soldier, but he definitely had the most to do here for sure.
He definitely did the old man run, though. I'm like, y'all should have got a stunt double for him. There's no reason why you shouldn't make that 70-plus-year-old man run. What's wrong with y'all? But yeah, so he was great. Ben Mendelsohn as Talos was pretty great. I think he did a really good job. But you should not have made the Skrulls sympathetic without at the most saying that they were a sect that didn't do anything wrong and they wanted to be free, and then there's the rest of the Skrulls that are terrible people, and that's why the Skrull and the Kree were, having a war. Their empires were at war, but it's not what they're saying. The Kree, you put all the blame on the Kree, and that the Kree came to the Skrulls' homeworld, and the Skrulls were like, yeah, we're not going to take this occupation, and fought back, and the Kree just wiped them out, which also begs the question that unless you radicalize some Kree within the past 20 to 30 years, or radicalize the Skrulls in the past 20 to 30 years, and the Super Skrulls just came out of nowhere, we're not going to have Super Skrulls, and that's
yeah. So
especially with the Fantastic Four coming.
Yeah. Sorry.
Then, do you want to just talk about the
Skrulls? Yeah, we'll talk about Skrulls for a minute. So yeah, I think. Yeah. So the whole twist, and the movie's been out now. So the whole twist of the movie is that Captain Marvel, Carol starts off working for the Kree, and you find out, no, she's originally from Earth, and the Kree kidnapped her and pretty much brainwashed her to be a soldier. And the whole idea is that, she's able to, her powers don't actually come from the Kree, they come from like this light-speed engine thing.
That's powered by
the Tesseract that didn't really need to be in this movie, but whatever. And, you start the movie off thinking the Skrulls are, they're bad guys, they're invading this planet, and the Kree are good guys, and it turns out, no, the Kree are pretty much, like, evil, imperialist, fascist, and the Skrulls were just looking for a home that whole time, and they were peaceful. And it's kind of like...
Yeah.
I get what they were going for. I get they were going for, like, appearances being deceiving. I get they were going for, Captain Marvel kind of being manipulated. This is a pro-woman, it's kind of a girl power type movie. And they were going for, Captain Marvel, being manipulated by this male figure. And ultimately, she has enough power in herself where she's like, hey, I don't need you anymore. I don't have to prove anything else to you and all of that stuff. But the issue with, like you said, using the Skrulls in this way is that in the comics, the Skrulls are evil. And there's a storyline.
And the Kree aren't
and the Kree really aren't good people either. So it's much more like, it's much more realistic of like, well, hey, there's bad people on both sides, And the Skrull, and there's an awesome Skrull story called Secret Invasion where the Skrulls invade Earth, and they're not only they're able to copy the appearances of various Marvel heroes, but they're also able to copy their powers.
Right.
And a lot of people thought that, as we start thinking about, well, hey, where's the MCU going to go, after Endgame, after Thanos, what threats can they really deal with? Skrulls were definitely on the list. There's other stuff they can do for sure. They can do Galactus and that kind of stuff. But Secret Invasion definitely could have been a storyline that you could have done in the MCU at some point. That could have been like
Yeah.
a global threat where you get multiple superheroes in. So using the scrolls in this way kind of makes it weird where okay, how are they going to write around if they ever did, either they're not going to do Secret Invasion ever, or if they did, they're going to have to find a creative way to write around the fact they were, oh, Carol, what happened? I thought the scrolls were good. Didn't you give them a home? Why are they trying to kill us now? You know?
Right.
So,
Yeah, and there should have been no reason why that, you know, like I said, unless they develop in the past 20, 30 years, since this movie took place in the 90s, where you have Super Skrulls existing, there's no reason why, if Super Skrulls existed, that the Skrulls should have even had a semblance of a problem defending their home world instead of just being scattered off like refugees.
yeah, so that in itself is problematic.
Next
Do
problem.
you, do you want to, what do you want to get into next? Carol herself?
Yeah, we'll talk about all things Carol. So I had absolutely zero problem with the message to women everywhere. I thought that was a great part of the movie. My problem came in with how Carol's character was just in general, and this is the same thing that I have with the problem in the comics, is that she's a lot like a female Hal Jordan when Hal Jordan was first, sort of this dry, cut character, dry humor, like very impulsive, very emotional, and very stubborn. They're like very similar characters, and so when you have Brie Larson there, and she has like one or two faces. She doesn't really, as the Creed taught her, not to show any emotion. But even after she broke out of that, she still didn't show all that emotion. And even the like 2 seconds we saw her in Endgame, still not that much emotion. So maybe we'll see more. It's a different directorial style. We'll see. But they didn't give her a challenge. Like her challenge was herself, which is one thing. But you didn't give her a challenge to fight physically, because as soon as she tapped into her emotions, she literally took a warship down by chest bumping it. Like that was a warship that 15 years later, 20 years later, could not be taken down by a whole bunch of Nova ships in Guardians. Like, I just.
Yeah, so I will say that I'm okay with her like having those powers and being super strong, but I do agree like there should have been some sort of challenging fight for her, you know, because I mean she was very OP. She was very OP at the end, and once she gets her powers, they're like, all right, well, no one can beat her now.
Yeah.
And I just and my issue with Carol is that I did feel like she was clearly trying to be like a badass and be cool. And I was okay with her in the beginning. But some of her acting, and this is Brie Larson, some of Brie Larson's acting, especially towards like the second half and that third half of the movie, like she was just so like emotionless and cold and like did not talk like a real person. I mean, there were certain lines where I felt like she was literally just like reading the script. It's like you can't control me anymore. I have my powers. Now I'm free. And I've noticed this with a lot of like female-led kind of action movies, because I've seen like Hunger Games, and have you seen Divergent ever? Nope. Or kind of similar to Hunger Games. I wouldn't say it's post-apocalyptic, but it's definitely like an action female-led movie. We don't even get into Twilight,
Yeah.
and I feel like whenever they have a main character that's a woman and they want to make it a thing, with the exception of Wonder Woman, it's like they have to make them like it's like they have to be so cold, and they can't be overly feminine, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And like they almost have to be written like very stoically, like they're male characters almost. And I just feel like I don't know. I'm kind of getting sick of that trope. And I mean, it'd be interesting to hear from, fans of these kinds of movies. And I mean, I guess probably just women in general, female critics, whatever, what they kind of think about this. Like, is this what they want? And I understand the argument of like, well, no one really demands that like men get to be funny or like men have to smile and that kind of stuff. But like, even say like with Thor, even in like Thor 1, Thor was like, Thor was kind of fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he had his fun moments. I get what you mean. I mean, I know for Hunger Games, so I was a fan of the books. So Hunger Games, Katniss was pretty much that was pretty much an accurate portrayal. I can't speak to Divergent. From what I've heard of Twilight books, that Bella was sort of similar. I might be wrong. I just really don't care about Twilight. Um, but like I just think that's a pretty true character for Carol Danvers because like one of her defining character traits in the comics is her anger. Like there are different versions of her that have. I mean, the main continuity version has tried to kill Rogue multiple times. Is she justified at least the first time? Yeah, like Rogue messed her up pretty good, but to keep coming back to that, all right, give it a rest. There is a version in the Marvel universe in the multiverse where she killed the Rogue on her Earth and now goes throughout not now, it was like 10, 15 years ago, where she tried to go throughout the multiverse and kill every version of herself and every version of Rogue. And I mean, you just got some issues there, Carol. But I just think that they didn't give Brie Larson enough because I like Brie Larson as an actress. I think she's very talented. I just feel like they didn't give her really anything to work with.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone outshined her in her own movie.
Marie
Lambeau, Monica Lambeau, Nick Fury.
Monica Rambeau's cool.
Talos.
The little girl was fine.
Not Ronan.
Jimmy Chan got blown up. That was a little disappointing. You know what I'm talking about? The sniper.
Who?
She was in Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah.
Jimmy Chan. Yeah, apparently a lot of people were excited for her, and she got blown up, and Jude Law got to live, so...
They're like, we'll see him again in Captain Marvel 2. I'm like, why?
Hey, she's got to send a message. Now, I'm curious, if they do a Captain Marvel 2, do you think they're going to do kind of what they're doing with Wonder Woman, where it's going to be set between, the first Captain Marvel and, like, Avengers stuff? Or do you think it's good?
That's what they said.
So, or like, yes,
they said it's going to be in the past too, and I'm like, why? She's supposed to be the flagship for the entire universe, and yet you're keeping her in the past
and not in present day. Yeah, so that's kind of weird. I'm trying to think if we're missing anything from Captain Marvel, any big details.
Oh, we got a few more things to go through.
Oh, you have a list?
Yeah, I got a list. So as a movie in and of itself, we got a lot more telling than we did showing. Like for Marie and Carol's relationship, we were told that they have a great relationship. We were told how close that they were, but the only times we saw them together in a flashback was them at a bar for about 5 to 10 seconds. And then them getting on a plane for about 5 to 10 seconds. And that's about it. Everything else we were told after we found them in the present. And that's an issue just movie telling wise. Like, show some of that.
I would agree. I would definitely agree. I mean... with Carol Maria, there needed to be a little more there for you to buy their relationship. For sure. And part of that was just like the way they did the flashbacks, where it was like, you got flashes of it when like the Skrulls are doing the mind thing on her and that kind of stuff. And I think the movie would have benefited from more flashbacks of young Carol and her relationship with Maria, so you understood... so you cared a little bit more.
And then what else do we have? Let's see. I felt like the things that they sort of retconned within the Marvel universe were sort of dumb. Um, so you
Like
have
what?
Fury not only witness shape shifting aliens, not only to meet someone with the power and like the godlike power that Captain Marvel has, you also send him into space where he sees even more aliens, where he has all this knowledge and interaction with these different groups of aliens. And yet Thor's the one that changes the game. That means like, oh, we should start developing this technology to make weapons from the Tesseract. That doesn't make any sense. Like, why are you waiting 20 years or 17 years, I think, because it takes place in 95, 17 years after that to start making weapons based off the Tesseract? Because they're already doing technology based off the Tesseract because that's how the Lightspeed engine became a thing. So if Project Pegasus was already a thing in the 90s and probably a bit in the 80s because it was 6 years after like that's when Carol left, was 6 years afterwards. So you have Project Pegasus going on in the 80s. Why aren't you making weapons then? Why just stop? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me, right? There's that. People are complaining about the whole Bieber thing. Like, yeah, it's dumb. Like, maybe she didn't answer. Maybe he did try to call her. But I feel like the first Avengers was literally what she was trying to prevent. She, in the last third act of the movie, she was trying to prevent the Tesseract from falling into evil aliens' hands. And that's literally and destroying the Earth. And that's literally what's going on in the first Avengers. And she doesn't come, or she doesn't answer, or you don't call her. I feel like that one's a bad one. Age of Ultron, whatever. But that one especially is sort of dumb and should have been thought through a bit more.
Yeah, I don't know why the Tesseract. Like we were sharing memes about it earlier. Why did the Tesseract even need to be in this movie? Like, you could have had some other alien, device or something. After Infinity War, like, okay, we're good with it. Like, we don't care about the Infinity Stones anymore. Like, Thanos got them all. We've seen them all in action. It's like, all right, because they're MacGuffins.
Right, and at this
This would be a neat tie-in to, some of the older movies and stuff. But it does just make it does make the continuity a mess a little bit, a little bit, and it's not necessary.
and so now you have the most powerful character get her powers from the Space Stone. Let's say the next powerful, like, not including Thanos, let's say the next most powerful character is Thor. He has his powers because he's an Asgardian. Cool, perfect, fine. Third, you have Scarlet Witch. She got her powers from the Mind Stone. Vision, Mind Stone. Like, it's just, you can think of other ways for people to get powers because you have the rich history in the comics of a million different ways to get
With the
powers.
X-Gene, they can use the X-Gene now.
So now, like, yeah, what is that going to be? So we can get into that in game, but and then I wouldn't say the last thing is Nick Fury's eye. Like, the jokes about it before it happened were fine. The fact that it was a meme before it happened, like months before the movie came out, like as soon as the cat came up in the trailer, that meme showed up where it was Nick Fury losing his eye because of the cat, and we all just laughed it off. And then it actually happened. Because it was just like, in the comics, he lost his eye one of two ways that I remember. One, Wolverine. Two, shrapnel from a grenade went in his eye. He was around so many explosions and so much shards of glass that you could have did that. But no, you made it a cat. Granted, it's a flurkin and they're extremely dangerous. But it did it in its cat form. And it just did it because it didn't want to be picked up at the time. Like, come on. One of somebody I was talking to on the internet wanted to show that it shows great character development for Fury. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Just because you have him lie about, like, oh, it's just this awesome reason, or he lost it in an awesome battle, and instead he lost it to a cat.
I thought that joke was funny. that like everyone in Shield thinks he lost it, in some like badass way, and really it was a cat.
Yeah, but that's not
But
character
I mean,
development.
no, it's not character development. That's just funny. I mean, I do agree that if he lost it in a more badass way, I mean, but like, are we ever going to get an Nick Fury origin story movie? Maybe, probably
Nope.
not. They made it a joke, which, it's Marvel.
Unfortunately.
So Marvel does. Your brother. It's probably to your brother's issue with Marvel movies, which is stuff like that where you take something that could have been cool and you just make it a joke, which I understand the criticism. It didn't bother me as much.
So I think that's enough on Captain Marvel.
Jude Law should have shot it out.
Jude Law should have died.
All right, so
Carol should have just like punted him to the sun. That would have been funny.
So the last thing on our list is Avengers Endgame comes out, and do we have a counter? Like 3 weeks almost.
I think we're just like at
26 days.
At this
Okay,
point.
never mind.
Yeah, because it comes out the 26th. Well, 25 technically, because it'll come out 7:00 in the United States on the 25th.
Their marketing has been on point.
I have loved that they have barely shown anything. I love how they're doing the posters.
They're definitely taking their time. I mean, they're definitely not showing a lot. We've got hints.
They don't need to show anything. Like, they literally just have to put up Endgame. And I'm just like, there it is. Release the hype engine.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll get more stuff soon as the press tour starts to kick off. So we got some interesting tidbits already. Shuri's dead. We don't know if she got snapped or if Corvus Glaive killed her, but she's apparently dead.
I'm pretty sure it's a snap because I think the first trailer that came out, she was on the screen of people that were missing.
Okay. So Shuri got...
Yeah, because I remember that. So when the poster came out and people were like, oh no, Shuri's dead. I'm like, but we've known that for months. She was on the screen.
And Valkyrie is alive.
And apparently she's in the movie.
And in the movie. I did not... I just saw a picture of Tessa Thompson. I was like...
Yeah, I'm happy about that. I'm for that. And people are shipping her and Captain Marvel. And I'm just like, I don't know if that's going to work the way you think it's going to work.
Hey, I don't hate it. Have you seen Tessa Thompson and Brie Larson? They keep sharing the fan art. And it's like, all right, guys, you don't want to get in trouble for queer baiting. Have you heard of that term before?
Yeah, I've heard that term before.
So for the
because I mean,
sorry, you can go.
Oh yeah.
So for the audience, if you don't know, queer baiting is a thing in a show where authors hint that there may be a romantic connection between two characters of the same gender, but then they don't follow through with it. And sometimes people get mad because like there aren't a ton of like gay couples in shows. So it's like, okay, if you're gonna tease it and not do it, it almost just makes it worse. So that's queer baiting. Fun fact. All right, so Chris, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, because I'm just like, it's not like they're going to be remotely in the same universe, especially with Captain Marvel being in the past so much. Or like their plan is for her to be in the past in her next movie, which, unless she just showed up to where, like, Sakaar and just chilled there for a few minutes. Like, there's no point unless she starts showing up in the next Thor movie or something. Like, we don't know where Valkyrie's just going to show up at. So, like, and they've already done reshoots. So, I don't think it has the momentum to have done a reshoot now, but it is what it is. Other things for Endgame. So theories that we have. I said I had 3 theories. I think they're just sort of all sort of conglomerated into one thing. So based on what we've seen and who is still alive, I think we're going to have 2 teams. We're going to have the space team, which is going to be like Thor, Valkyrie, Captain Marvel, Rocket, Nebula, to go try and find Thanos, while the others go back in time and try and, do what they can to, take stones away from Thanos and everything like that. That's one theory. The other theory is that I heard, I can't remember whether it was my brother that said it or someone else. It wasn't my brother, it was someone else. I think I read it earlier today on Facebook or last night, was that they're going to fight Thanos and kill him in like the first half of the movie.
I think that's what's going to happen too.
And the last half is trying to reverse everything that happened.
Yeah, that's definitely where I'm thinking too. I mean, I think that defeating Thanos is going to happen relatively quickly, and then they're going to get the gauntlet, and the gauntlet's not going to work, and they're going to have to figure something else out.
Yeah, because that's what I think with the gauntlet, showing the gauntlet being like sort of crushed, that it couldn't do the snap again. Now, granted, it didn't need to do the snap to reverse it in the comics, so the person just literally had to will it, but maybe no one is strong enough to will it. And I swear Tony Stark better. I hope Tony Stark uses it and fails. That's what I hope. That's how he dies. Just throwing that out there. The other thing is, if you fight with Thanos in the first half of the movie, someone has to die. It'll either be Cap or it'll be Tony. And I feel like if they die that early, it will take a lot of people out of the movie right away. Because you still have another hour and a half to go. So unless it's like Cap, where it's going to require like someone to sacrifice themselves to undo it, then that's what they'll do. Or, Cap goes back in time and decides to stay with what's her name? Peggy. But then someone brought up a really good point. If he goes back in time and stays with Peggy, unless they take away his super soldier serum, he's going to want to fight in the Korean War, Vietnam, everything. There's nothing that's going to stop him from wanting to fight.
Yeah.
And he'll be there at the beginning of S.H.I.E.L.D. and everything. So it's like, that's not really a plausible theory anymore either.
Yeah,
because that goes against all of his principles to just sit there.
He's like the forever soldier. Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, the only theories I think I know. I mean, we know time travel is going to happen. I think they're going to rewrite it so Infinity War like never happens. And there's already theories because I think they said Spider-Man Far From Home starts right after Endgame. And in the theory, I think, was that Peter Parker in Endgame, when he was on the bus, I think they were on the bus to the airport to go to, where to go, to Italy in Endgame? To go to Europe.
Yeah, the only thing I would say about that is that nobody had any, like suitcases or anything like that, and the bus they were on is not like, if they were like on an Indian Trails bus or something like that, I'd be like,
that's true, that's a regular school bus.
That's a perfect theory.
It wasn't a travel bus. Yeah. Okay.
Right. But I mean, like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, whatever it takes.
And the other thing is, who's going to remember that Infinity War happened? Because in the comics, I don't think everybody remembers. I think only a select few remember until later, when like their memories are restored or something. Because it seems like when a lot of universe-shaking events happen, only a very select few remember. So I feel like Doctor Strange will remember.
Doctor Strange has already gotten an Endgame spoiler.
He might be one of the few. Well, and I said this, I think, after Infinity War, and so we're getting a Doctor Strange 2, but he held his own against Thanos with 4 Infinity Stones. How is Baron Mordo going to be a challenge?
He's got to get some other power from somewhere.
He has to. But the other thing is he'd get it from Dormammu, but that goes against this whole thing. Like his whole motivations in the first movie to do the exact same thing that the Ancient One did. Like,
I also heard the Ancient One is supposed to be in Endgame. I don't know where I read that. I don't know if it's true, but I heard that.
Yeah.
Hey, we know Pepper Potts is in it. It's her hey, it's Gwyneth Paltrow's last movie. Last phase one girlfriend standing.
Next thing we know, we see Natalie Portman show up.
It's probably not going to happen.
Nope.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of anything else. Have you seen all the memes of Ant-Man going to Thanos' butt?
God, yes, I have. Why is that a thing?
There's been a lot of those. Josh Brolin responded on Instagram. Did you see that?
Yeah.
He was on the toilet. Yeah, so getting in on the fun for real. I mean, that meme was made like before, during Infinity War. I don't know why it's coming back, but like half my feed is just like, we'll have like the it was like, they have like the whole Avengers or whatever on the posters, and there was one with Ant-Man, and it was like it was his ass, and it had the Avengers A for it. I'm just like, Jesus. I was like, he could go in his ear.
Right.
Or his nose.
His eyeball.
But, that's true. Or his eye. But, I mean, what can you say? People are nasty. So that's just where we are right now, I guess. One thing I'm happy about this movie is that we're going to have at least a good 2 more months of, Thanos memes. Thanos memes are always good.
Yes. And it's we don't know, like we talked about earlier, without Secret Invasion, we don't know where it's gonna go anymore. But the Fox merger is done, which means we have the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, which means we have Doom. Granted, since they're doing Dark Phoenix in June, which means we couldn't really have that Dark Phoenix saga with the whole universe, but we could get Doom being the overarching villain, but at the same time, I wouldn't want Doom to be the overarching villain like I do, but I also want to see him, go up against Black Panther and have Doom War be a movie, because that would be awesome, but neither here nor there. But I'm going to ask you this, because I asked my brother and a couple of my other friends this. What would you rather be an end credit scene in Endgame? Mutants or the Fantastic Four?
Mutants or the Fantastic Four? Probably mutants. Just because... What?
That's what I would think too. Me too.
Because I feel like if they do some like retconning and stuff with the time travel beating, it'd be a good way to introduce the X gene and write that in after it not being a thing before. Mm-hmm. Fantastic Four... you could always write them in as existing. You could do it in...
Literally, you could have put them into Captain Marvel.
You could have put them... You could have had them exist in the past. You could have had them... You could have had them disappear. You could have had them be test pilots and disappear in like a space vortex and not come back until present day.
They could have been the original test pilots for Project Pegasus, and they... went off and did the Lightspeed engine and no one heard from them. You could actually technically still do that afterwards.
Legally they couldn't do that, but now they can. But
right.
I don't think we're going to get either, just because the merger didn't happen until after everything was filmed. But I'm curious to see where the future of the MCU is going to go. And some people are like, "Oh, Avengers versus X-Men," but I'm like, but yeah, we're losing like all the original Avengers, so you can't do that anymore. X-Men haven't been introduced or built up.
Yeah, and then the actor... Right, and the actress that plays Storm doesn't want to be like a part of the Black Panther verse, and I'm just like, well, no one cares what you think, all right, because you're wrong.
Well, Alexandria Shipp?
Yeah.
You mean?
I think it was her.
Well, hopefully she won't be Storm much longer. That's yeah. There's already other actors who want to be cast as Storm, and
what is the internet's big problem with her? Because I haven't had a problem with her. I didn't think she was great, but I was just like, she's just there.
Oh, with Alexandria Shipp.
Yeah.
Oh, well, just because some people thought that, I think she's biracial, that, like, hey, you should have had a dark-skinned woman playing Storm, People didn't feel like she fit what Storm was supposed to be, and she got in fights with, nerdy black Twitter, mostly other black women, and she pretty much went off like going like, oh hey, light skinned black girls deal with a lot of stuff too, and pretty much going like colorism isn't real, and like, you know, and she just got really defensive. I think she tried to compare herself to like Black Lives Matter or something, and it got really messy. And I get that like Alexandria Shipp is like defending the role she's in and like probably feels, you know, insulted and, you know, challenged in that sort of way. It's the era we're living in. Sometimes you got to take the L because, you know, when you talk about, I don't want to get too far into colorism, but, you know, anybody can be made fun of for anything, right? So you can be made fun of for being too dark, be made fun of for being too light, you know? But the fact is, when you look at society and you look at, you know, how people are treated, you know, in general, who is treated better, typically black people with lighter skin are treated as more beautiful, they're given more opportunities than people with darker skin. You know what I mean? It's sort of like you can compare someone, you know, someone who's fat, someone who's overweight versus someone who's skinny. You know, fat people get made fun of, but you can get made fun of for being skinny, right? There are skinny jokes, of course, but like, who's treated better? Someone who's overweight or someone who's skinny? You know what I mean? You know, who's treated better. So it became a mess, and now it's just become a running like Black Nerd Twitter meme making fun of Alexandria. There was one tweet she has. It says it's from 2007 and so it's from 2017. It was like y'all think because of this merger they're going to end up recasting Storm, LOL. And then a story came out recently that they want to just completely reboot the X-Men universe, except they might import Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool.
Yeah, irreplaceable. Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. Two other people that I feel like you cannot cast better. Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy. I don't.
They're gonna try.
Than them. I mean,
they have to
try. Like, you can't do the X-Men without them. But I feel like you got Michael Fassbender before he blew up, and he did a phenomenal job. James McAvoy did a phenomenal job. Like, granted, you know, Fox hit it out of the park with casting both times for those roles. And I feel like it's a high bar to set, or a high bar to meet. Also high bar, Wolverine.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to, I don't even know. It was Hugh Jackman for so long that like no one even you can't even imagine anyone else, even though Hugh Jackman wasn't even like that comic accurate of a Wolverine, especially in the beginning. Like, Wolverine is short in the comics. You know what I mean? Yeah, Wolverine in the comics he's short a lot. Like, he could be drawn to be, you know, super attractive, but he's not nearly as I'll put it this way: Hugh Jackman was much more, I think, of a pretty boy than I think the comic Wolverine is. But now, since he was in that role for so long, when people think of Wolverine, they think of Hugh Jackman. Right. So, yeah, they'll find somebody at some point. Like I said, I'm curious to see what to do with the Marvel Universe. Like, Avengers versus X-Men, but I'm like, dude, we're losing Cap, Thor, Hulk, and Tony, probably. So, like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Speaking of Hulk, and this goes, and I meant to mention this, but I forgot. There was when they were saying that the trailer was coming, there was a supposed thing that the trailer got leaked. And I remember we talked about this briefly. I don't think we ever put it on the podcast. But part of the trailer was showing that the Hulk was training, and they're just like, well, why are you training so hard? And he's like, my rematch is coming. I know it. If that happens, I'm going to be 100% for that. Granted, we know we're going to get like Professor Hulk in this one, or at least Banner-controlled Hulk in this one. But I want more out of the Hulk. Like, don't let Captain Marvel and Thor take his moment away from him. Also, who's going to be the CGI characters for the Avengers to fight? Because they can't all fight Thanos at once.
What do you mean? Oh, because they're all dead.
Because you don't have the Black Order anymore. Yeah. You don't have the Chitauri. You might have the Chitauri, but it'd be boring to see them fight them again. You don't want to see them fight the creatures they just fought in the last one. So what are you gonna do? Make multiple versions of Thanos and have each team fight one? That'd be hilarious, but ultimately fruitless.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't even. Do you think they'll all fight Thanos? Period. I don't know. Who else can they fight besides Thanos?
Well,
you think there'll be another person that they have to fight? I think there will be someone else besides Thanos they have to battle with at some point. For sure.
They got to do something, because I mean, like, you can't fight like in a martial arts thing. It's for the most you can fight at once. Four. Granted, you have aerial combat in this, so maybe you can extend that to 6, maybe 8. But most of these people have not fought together, so that's going to be a thing. And I don't see really Rocket being in place here without having some foot soldier to fight. And we know Cap is there at some point, because we saw that in the trailer where he's like mudded and bloodied up. So he's obviously there. They got to fight somebody. They can't just all fight Thanos at once. So I don't know. Maybe they'll bring some other obscure comic alien to bring in the fight, which by all means fine. Just give me some good
fight. And the way they're doing the posters with the dead characters and the living characters all but confirm that Loki and Gamora are going to come back. Because some people thought they'd be dead for real. It's like, no, they're coming back. Everybody's coming back. All the dead characters from the last movie are coming back. And, maybe Cap and Iron Man may die permanently. Though I hear that Hemsworth and Mark Ruffalo want to be done with Marvel after this one, too. So
Yeah,
Mark Ruffalo got fired.
So he doesn't really have a choice at this moment. Chris Hemsworth, I'm
not saying that he died. I'm just saying that
he can just
may not, he may go off to rebuild Asgard somewhere, and we just don't,
He can just be Odin, or he can go into a Thor sleep.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm curious, and I wouldn't be shocked if, I don't know how much longer the MCU is going to go after this one. I wouldn't be shocked if, goes, another 5-10 years. I wouldn't be shocked if they brought old characters back at some point.
Yeah, but what I really think is they should do what DC is doing now and just focus on the individual characters and don't really go for this overarching thing, because I think you have exhausted most of your big storylines, because either the characters are no longer there or you've already adapted them into some of these smaller films.
In my opinion, I think I said this before, they need to do smaller crossovers, more buddy movies, like, even though like Ragnarok, I like Hulk being in Thor's I liked Hulk being in Thor's movie. I like Iron Man being in Spider-Man's movie. I like Nick Fury being in Captain Marvel's movie. I want more stuff like that.
Right.
I like a movie, I like a movie where, Spider-Man is fighting some mystical foe and he goes to Doctor Strange for advice. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can do that kind of stuff and have it be organic. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't mind, Captain Marvel showing up in Guardians 3, which also James Gunn is back.
Yeah.
We can talk about that. He got rehired.
Yeah, we can unpack that post Endgame, because that's looking to the future of Marvel as well. And also another thing we'll talk about in the next podcast is Godzilla King of Monsters.
That looks crazy.
Oh man, I'm so excited.
And Shazam comes out this week too.
Yes, which we didn't get to talk about at all. We'll talk about it on the next podcast.
Yeah, we'll review it. We'll review it with Endgame probably.
Yes, either at the time of the next podcast, either I will be a week from graduation or I will have just graduated, so it'll be a fun time.
Good old Zachary Levi making a comeback after getting unceremoniously murdered in Ragnarok. They asked him about that on the Shazam red carpet too.
Yeah, what'd he say?
He was just like, I love Kevin Feige. I wish my character could have done more, but now I get to be Shazam, so
he's winning.
He's winning. He's having a good year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you got anything else about Endgame?
No, I think even that the merger happened afterwards, I don't think the reshoots were quite done yet. But even so, I still think they could have filmed something and just kept it in
Just
their
not
back
told
pocket
anyone.
right, because things were wrapping up. And I think I told you about this. Maybe I think I might have texted you about this, but in the next Captain Marvel movie or the next time she's on Earth, what they should do is like, she's, talking to all these people or anything like that, and this little girl goes up to hug her and she feels weak for a second, and then she's like, that was weird, and then the end credit scene is the little girl flying and has a white streak in her brown hair, and I'm just like, rogue.
No, have you seen? There was a meme. Did you see the
Yeah.
meme where they got a clip from the X-Men TV show with Rogue and Captain Marvel, where she's like taking her powers, and the caption's like, "Oh, hey Carol, I heard you got a little movie
Yeah.
coming out." I was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, that's great. I need that. I
Yeah,
certainly need that
I mean
to happen
they
in the
can do it
MCU.
now if they reboot and stuff. Monica Rambeau definitely can be a thing. She'd be like 30 now.
Nothing
And
but respect for my Captain Marvel.
I think Kevin Feige said they wanted to do Kamala Khan at some point too, which at this point they might as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but one of the things that it was, she has to be on Earth for a while in order to inspire Kamala Khan. So the next movie should be on Earth and in present day, not in the late '90s in
And I was
who
thinking
knows where space.
too. Um, they could. I mean, you think Bucky's going to be in the new Cap or Falcon?
I think, well, depends on what kind of statement Marvel wants to make, because there's going to be a whole lot of people that are like, a black Captain America, not in my country, and then be like,
Yeah, well,
yeah, let me show you
boycott
a
Captain
comic
Marvel
book,
and
buddy.
ended up breaking records. Even being a mediocre movie, it got My mom liked it. Dad was kind of like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
900
It was.
million.
We didn't even get into the whole like incel Captain Marvel thing.
It's been split amongst my family. I don't care. If you do not like a movie because the main character is a person of color or a woman, your opinion is invalid to me. I do not care about your opinion.
Well, people got mad. At Captain Marvel, at Brie Larson, I guess. She said that in an interview, she was making a statement about diversity and like she wanted more diversity of like critics on like the press tours and whatnot. And she made some comments where she was like, "I don't really care like what a 40-year-old white guy thinks about my movie," and people got offended. It was like, "Oh, Brie Larson hates white men." And it's like, dude, like that's clearly not what she means. You know what I mean? It spun out into this hate.
And when I heard that, I was just like, well, because I remember her doing it on the press tour for another movie, I thought, and it was before Captain Marvel. So then when it came up again now, and I'm just like, I thought she said this like over a year ago. But at the same time,
Dude,
she's not wrong, because if you have a movie based on people of color and you only have white people criticizing it, there's a disconnect there. Like it should not be it should not only be one group of people being critics for all movies. There needs to be diversity of background, diversity of thought, diversity of opinion that comes into those movies, that'll be able to fully appreciate the different movies for different reasons.
Yeah.
Like, and that's where people are starting, like, there's a reason why there is a growing divide between what critics think is a good movie and what people think is a good movie. And it's not that because the critics are so much more educated in film and all that, because while some of them are, not all of them are, but people see the movies that they want to see, that relate to them, that they can go home and think about, feel good about, and all that. And there's a reason why you have movies like, oh god, I can't remember, but where you have these like really artsy and technically beautiful movies that win all these types of awards, but people watch the Oscars and they're like, what movie is that? When did that come out? So I think there needs to be a greater variety of diversity and inclusion in the critics field, as well as Hollywood in general, as well as the world in general, in places of power. And I'm going to step down from my soapbox because
I
I don't want to
agree.
get
No,
into that.
I totally understand what you're saying. But it's dumb. And like, and whenever you have a movie like this where, it's clearly like, this is billed as like, this is going to be the female superhero movie, even though DC did it first with Wonder Woman, it's just my last closing thoughts for a wrap up. You're always, when something like this happens, you're always going to have people that are going to love the movie regardless of how good it really is. And you're always going to have people that, they're pissed at for whatever reason. They hate Brie Larson, whatever. They were gonna hate the movie, no matter how good it wasn't. And what happens when you have
Right.
just when you have like when you just have this dumb just like divide is that you end up losing real nuance and real film criticism and real and there's a place to say, well, hey, I wasn't
Right.
really a fan of this movie, but parts of it that appealed to, this group of people that didn't appeal to me. So, that's why,
Right.
like, sometimes the internet, it just gets on my nerves because it's just, I wish we could just be honest and just talk about a movie, for what it is. And movies that are critically acclaimed, you might you might find boring. There are movies that are hated. I mean, that are really bad, but people like them. There's a reason like The Room is a cult classic. Some people have a soft spot for the Michael Bay Transformers movies. So that's my closing statement
Right.
on that. And we don't have to get too much into it. We should probably could have had a woman on this podcast, but we didn't plan. Had enough. Sorry. We
Yeah,
definitely
we didn't even
should.
know when this
All
was
right.
gonna happen. We'll do better on that,
Yeah, for sure. All right.
and we can do a redux on it later on.
All right. Well, I'm Chris,
I'm Chris.
and this has been the 21st edition of the Two Black Two Nerdy podcast. Thanks for listening, and live long and prosper.
We'll see you in a world post Endgame. We're in the Endgame
Yep.
now.
We're